Hello, this is it's Friday, so it means another day of $5 in the world as I work through the collection of stories and sayings and memories that I had with my dad, Burdett Lee Gray. This will be about a fourth or fifth episode, so to speak, and I'm glad you're here for it. Feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to do so, and it makes it easier to join into the chat section. Please share this with others. I'd like to get some exposure for the idea and the stories because I think they can be life-changing and they are certainly life-affirming. And I would like to turn it into a book project in the near future. And this just helps me stay on point, helps me keep writing. I love your feedback and the encouragement. And if there's anything that you think it could use some work on, let me know. If there's any questions you have about my dad or any of his ideas or thoughts that I share, put those in the chat as well, and I promise to respond. Today, I'm going to tell you a story from 1976. My brother and I were kids, and we had a really special day thanks to my dad's perseverance and bold optimism. And as I tell this story, I think you'll see it'll reveal lots about his character and how he approached things, and even a little bit about how maybe we weren't always so appreciative of Dad at that point in time. Although most of the time we were, there were times where sometimes we just didn't give him the credit he deserved. But the longer time goes by, the more I realize just what a special guy he was and is to me. And I just look forward to sharing this story with you. And then, like I say, like it, share it, subscribe, put your comments in the chat, and I look forward to interacting with you as we go along. So this, like I said, this is 1976, and this is a family vacation, and family vacation stories are always pretty hilarious. So this one goes like this. Life is a Circus is the name of the chapter. We spent our Christmas vacations at Fort Myers Beach, Florida. It's an island in the Gulf of Mexico. My dad found a campground there back in the 50s and made it a getaway spot ever after. It was called the Red Coconut Trailer Park, and he arranged permission to leave a small mobile home there year-round. It was small, about 350 square feet. It featured one bedroom and one bathroom and a kitchen and a little living room. My brother Chuck and I shared a hide-a-bed sofa in the living room. But the real value was our proximity to the glorious beach the island is known for. We loved it there. I went there every year of my life through college. I even convinced my wife that we should take our honeymoon there. Florida fills up with people from the Midwest, US, and Canada during the winter months, and a lot of them had their favorite spots like we did. Consequently, we enjoyed happy reunions every Christmas with people from Illinois, Ohio, New York, and Iowa. Our next door neighbor was a retired firefighter from Ohio who loved the Ohio State Buckeyes as much as he loved his sweet wife. His name was Bob Brown, and his claim to fame in our family was his command of the more colorful words in the English language. He swore with more abandon than our dad did. One day, he suggested to my dad that he should take us to the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. Their winter quarters were located in Venice, Florida, just north of the beach. The appeal of this idea was based on the fact that this time of year was the final dress rehearsal time for the whole circus before it broke up into its traveling components. In other words, it was as big an extravaganza as the company ever put on during the year. Dad was always up for a new experience, and who doesn't love a good circus? My dad asked all the right questions. How do you get tickets? How far is it? Is it easy to get a good seat? Bob assured him that tickets were no big deal. It wasn't more than 30 minutes away, and you can just show up and get good seats. We actually needed convincing, meaning me, my brother, and my mom. We knew our time in paradise was limited, and we hated being away from the beach for any reason. The tyranny of the school calendar loomed over our vacation, and it limited our enthusiasm for the idea. Dad applied his considerable powers of persuasion and stoked our enthusiasm to the point of agreement. We adopted the plan to see the circus. The weather on the day of the excursion was perfect, a Chamber of Commerce brochure-worthy day. The beauty of the day led to some second-guessing the decision to make the trek to Venice, but the die was cast. Enthusiasm for the event went down another level as it became clear that Bob's estimation of time and distance missed the mark by quite a bit. This extended period in the car led to audible grumbling and opening questioning of the competence at the leadership position. Through the growing unease, Dad remained positive. When we finally came to the venue, we saw a lot of cars in the vast parking lot. There was a line of cars going into the field, and we joined them. While my dad was paying the parking attendant, he asked the guy, "Where do I go to get tickets?" The man's answer sapped what little confidence we had left for this project when he said, "You don't already have them? Good luck." The three of us unleashed accusations and scorn. He remained absolute. Dad squared his shoulders and headed in the direction that the attendant had pointed. We sat in the car certain he was prolonging the inevitable. As we took in how many cars that were already there, we knew he was wasting his time and ours. I'll never forget the scene. It was warm and sunny, and the unpaved road that led into the lot threw off dust that was kind of hanging in the air. As we scanned the horizon looking for our dad to get back so we could salvage what was left of the day, we spotted him through the haze. He did not look defeated or worried. He had a satisfied smile on his face and something clenched in his right hand. He was holding what looked like a fan. When he got closer, we realized he was holding 4 tickets. He rolled up on us like everything had happened according to plan. "Let's go to the circus," he said. We jumped to action. This wildly unexpected outcome made the whole thing that much more exciting. We fired praises and questions at him. While Dad already possessed an impressive record for making dramatic things happen, we had still doubted him on this one. We wanted all of the details. He accepted our rediscovered appreciation with grace. He knew we could be a fickle crowd. He promised to answer the questions about how this all worked out, but first he wanted to concentrate on getting into our seats before the show started. He really did not know where the seats would be, and he probably had concerns that they wouldn't be ideal. As to the quality of our seats, we hadn't needed to worry. Our clown of an usher, literally a clown, walked us to our seats. We noticed that we were heading down an aisle in the middle of the 3-ring circus, like having seats on the 50-yard line at a football game. We also realized that we were getting really close to the action, like having courtside seats at a basketball game. We had ideal seats, close enough to smell the animals and high enough to easily watch all 3 rings of the circus. I remember the looks my mom would give my dad at times like this. They lived in a mutual admiration society. Whenever he noticed Mom looking at him with that mixture of love and appreciation, he knew that he was fulfilling his quest to make life as wonderful as he could for her and us. They never lost that connection as long as they both lived. This happened in 1976, the USA bicentennial, and the whole circus was decked out in the red, white, and blue. All of the star performers of the circus in one place, and they were primed for the moment. The biggest star of the show, as is usually the case in a circus, was the lion tamer. His name was Gunther Goebel Williams. He had already made a name for himself in Europe before he joined Ringling Brothers. He looked the part, and for a while there, our dad had a rival for my mom's attention. Everything and everyone looked fresh, and they all performed remarkable feats. About halfway through, they bring a bunch of kids down to the circus floor and loaded them into circus wagons for a few laps around the circus. A clown came to our row and invited Chuck and I to join the festivities, and we excitedly did so. The whole day turned into a spectacular success. Dad finally got around to telling us how he had snatched a stunning victory from the jaws of defeat. He admitted that the walk to the ticket booth felt a little bit like a walk towards the gallows, but he knew that if he didn't ask, he didn't get. Even the sold-out sign in the window didn't turn him away at this point. He explained his predicament to the lady behind the window and asked if there was any way to conjure up 4 more tickets. While she expressed her sympathies, she explained that she didn't have any more to sell. While they talked, Dad noticed a stack of tickets to the side of her counter. Being eternally curious, and in this case a bit desperate, he asked about those tickets. She told him that a tour group had pre-ordered them for that day but had canceled. He made the ask, "Can I buy 4 of them?" I don't know if it was a simple transaction or if he paid a premium to get them. I do know that she ultimately sold him 4 tickets to the best seats in the tent. Dad shared, Dad shared many pearls of wisdom, told great stories, and offered sage advice all of his life. The beauty of the man was displayed in his life's alignments with the values and beliefs that he regularly shared with us. We heard what he said, and then we watched him live it. We experienced real-time proof of concept whenever we went anywhere with him, as well as at home. The sayings and stories, some of which I'm sharing in this book, proved to be more than adages for Dad. Collectively, they made up his code for living. Don't give up on a good idea or goal. Always ask the question you need to ask. Let people help. Ignore the critics. Encourage the people around you. Take a chance. There's always a way, and God's will be done. You know, I'm glad we didn't know how far it really was to Venice, that the show was sold out, and that nobody just rolls up on the hottest show in town without a ticket and expect to see it. We might not have ever started our adventure, let alone lived it. Dad always told us to start with the goal in mind and then work toward it. I've heard mega influencers like Tony Robbins coach the same idea for large fees at crowded conferences. We heard it said and experienced it, lived it every day of our lives. All of this said, listening to my dad rake Bob over the coals for his shoddy intel, it made us all crack up. The two of them were hilarious. It was even funnier because Bob didn't offer an apology. He wanted to take the credit for having the idea in the first place. All's well that ends well, damn it, he said. And we have that memory to last a lifetime. And that really was one of those cool moments. You know, he would come up with these bold ideas, and all he knew at the start of them is what he wanted to do, and how if it worked out, it would be great. And it goes to a concept I've been learning about lately, and some reading and some coaching I've been getting. And it goes like this. You know, our brains are wired to think of worst case scenarios. It's part of our survival mechanism, and it makes sense. So, you know, take this for an example. It's like, well, we could go to the circus. What's the worst that could happen? Well, we'll miss out on a day of sun. The circus will be dumb. It won't be any fun. It's too far away. We won't get in. I mean, it could have been anything. Those are all worst. Those what ifs are kind of what the brain does to protect itself. And a lot of times that's the only part of the equation we will listen to. I believe we talk ourselves out of more great things than life would ever take away. We do the what if game, and the what if is negative, and we lose our enthusiasm, we lose our confidence, we lose our faith, we lose our hope, or something along the lines. We just decide maybe it's not worth the risk. And again, some of that's wired into us for our own good. But you know, there's another side of that what if. And this is what I've been taught to really concentrate more on as time goes by. And that is, and my dad had it in spades. This was kind of maybe at the core of his decision making when it was, should I or shouldn't I? He understood what could go wrong, but the what ifs that really interested him the most was, what if it works out? What if it's really great? What if we have a blast? What if it's better even than we imagined? What if it turns out to be one of the coolest memories of a decade? That's what he wanted to find out. He was willing to risk, in many cases, the what ifs that could be negative if he thought the what ifs that were positive were worth it, you know? And that emboldened him to take risks, to take chances, to dream, and then to go ahead and try and make those dreams a reality. And it was fascinating to watch day in and day out. And like I said in the story, it wasn't just that he talked this way. A lot of people talk this way. And I think they mean it when they say it. But when it comes right down to it, when that moment comes, that crisis point between decision, you know, between action and inaction, that moment between the idea and beginning the execution of it, that's where a lot of us skip a beat. That's where a lot of us blink. That's where a lot of us decide to not go. But my dad showed us time and again, find out. You know, here's the really interesting thing to me. I think, for the sake of discussion, say we got there and he didn't get us tickets. I just know he'd have found something else. He'd have conjured up something else. He'd have thought of something else, worked out something else to make the day still a pretty cool day. No idea what that would have been. I just know the resourcefulness that he relied on, that God gifted him with, in my opinion, my belief, was that he just knew if this didn't work, we'd try something else. If that didn't work, we'd do something else. If the goal was to have a good time, if the goal was to live an experience, if the goal was to, so to speak, make a story, he was going to figure out a way to do it. He figured God would present other ways to do it. If that wasn't the way, there would be another way. And this optimism about it can work out if you don't give up. There was an old song from the 30s. I don't know if he knew it, but he lived it. And the title of that song was, "It's a Great Life If You Don't Weaken." And that was his approach. If you don't give up, the game's still on. You still have a chance to win. So we ended up, like I said, with one of the coolest circus experiences you could possibly have. Now, we didn't go to the circuses every year. In fact, it's the only time we ever did this. Even though we went to Florida every year, like I said, that was the only time we ever did it. And sometimes my dad also had the wisdom to know when to say when. It was like, you weren't going to top it, or it was a moment in it, and it was special. It was magical, even. It was blessed. And we had it, and we shared it. We had we had that souvenir book. The program was a big old thing. We had that around the house for years. I don't know what happened to it. Probably got packed away somewhere, but that was one of those things that just stuck with the family for it still does. I know if my brother was here talking, we could go on and on about it. I'm sure he has his own recollections and memories of it. And that was, like I said, my dad lived for stuff like that. Build memories, live experiences, share stuff, dare to do stuff, and bring others along for the ride, and make sure everybody's having a good time. So I hope you like that story. I hope if you've got a dream, if you've got something you're thinking about doing, if you spent more time thinking of the reasons why you can't instead of why you can, I dare you this weekend or soon to just set the can't part aside and just ask yourself, but what if I did? And what would it take to get there? Is it money? Is it education? Is it training? Is it an assistant? Is whatever it is. See if even that's possible. Just work on the steps towards the thing that you desire and see how close you can get to it. I know a lot of times there's a saying that, the journey's where it's all at. In other words, achieving the goal is nice, but the things that we do, the things we learn about ourselves, the things we challenge ourselves with to get to that point is really where the richness comes. So take some time and think about some things, an idea, a desire, a bucket list item. Sometimes we use that expression. That you just been, I always thought I would. I always kind of wanted. Just treat it like a reality. And just seriously ask yourself, what would it take to make it so? And see how close you can get to it. You might surprise yourself. Things might happen that you didn't expect, that even if you don't land where you're headed, something really awesome will happen anyways. And I'll tell you another thing that I learned from watching him move around and do his thing, and having lived some life of my own now. There's something life affirming about taking a chance, about going ahead and saying, why not me? Let's go for it. Let's try it. Let's see if we can make this work. There's something elevating about that. It's something that brings out more of our character when we do those kinds of things. Not reckless. I don't mean, just for the sake of it, but the stuff you actually really want to do. Or if you're faithful, the things you feel called to do. If you're a believer, that God will put ideas in your mind or desires on your heart that you didn't think of really on your own. And we usually will call that a calling. And we can talk ourselves out of those too. And I think it's a mistake. I know it's a mistake. God wants to bless us in ways we don't even know how to imagine. God blesses us in amazing ways. And he asks us to take that step, step out into it and see where it goes. That's what following means. That means walking in faith, walking by faith and not by sight. All of those expressions, they mean this kind of living, especially when it's directed towards things of God. But whether you're a little faith or great deep faith, the principle holds that if you think it, do it. If it comes to mind and it's aligned with your values and you can do it in an ethical way and it's going to be meaningful and you're going to grow from it, or someone else is going to be blessed by it or made better for having done it, figure it out, get started on it, make it a project, make it a goal, and work out the steps and just work toward it and get as close to and maybe even beyond it as you can, and see how much richer your life is. You may already live this way, and if you do, I applaud it. And I know you don't even need the applause because you know how satisfying it is. But if you're kind of hesitant, I just try. Just give it a shot. There's blessings there. There's rewards there. There are memories there. And there's growth there. And there's wisdom there. I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope my thoughts on it might prove helpful or give you something to think about. I look forward to your comments and your questions and your input in the chat. Again, one more time, please like and share it. Please subscribe if you aren't already, and invite others to do so. I'd really like to build up this channel to a place, as big a community as we can get it. All right? That's all for today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you back here again next Friday. Bye for now.